Welcome back, LEGO Builders. Gigahertz Productions here, and today we are taking a closer look at my Mandalorian Moc, which is on Nevarro. Now, for a little self-promotion here, the Sarlacc pit now has minifigs on it, and there should be a picture up on screen, and definitely brings a sense of life to the build. And some of you may or may not have seen my video a couple weeks ago on my Sarlacc pit, and before it didn't have any minifigures, and with the minifigures it looks a whole lot better. And just like my Sarlacc pit Moc, my Nevarro Moc, this one here, has two main parts. There's the actual landscape part, and then there's the ship, or in this case, is the Razor Crest. And now I'm gonna stress this and say this again. The Razor Crest was not designed by me, it is designed by Yikai on Rebrickable, and there'll be a link in the description to this Moc. So you can build it for yourself if you want to. Okay, now to move this Razor Crest out of the way and to take a look at the landscape. Now, first of all, a little odd thing that you might see about the landscape is this brown piece right here, and that's just to signify where I put down the front landing gear to the Razor Crest, so then I put it in the same location every single time. Now, all along the front edge of this Moc, I decided to use snot, or stud snot on top. So all the pieces are facing outwards rather than the studs facing up on top. And I did this to give the Moc a better texture and feel to it, rather than just like a flat edge all along the side. Like what we have back over on this side over here. And actually it's flat all along the back of the Moc as well. Now, I do think that this snot technique is a much better improvement over my last Moc, where I don't think I included any snot technique at all in there. And if we take a look back at this rock kind of formation part back here, it again has lots of snot and a mixture of snot and not snot. And again, probably lots of you watching are going like, haha, why is it named snot? And also there's another word called burps, or big ugly rock pieces, which I used in my last Moc, and they don't look quite as good, hence why they're called big ugly rock pieces. So on this Moc, a lot more better detail and also a lot more snot used, which just adds like a whole lot more texture and it just looks better. Moving back to the front of the Moc, this little kind of outcropping of rock here, I added in at the last minute, as you will see in the time-lapse. If you look at my channel, I have a time-lapse of this Moc, and that is because I needed to fit the Razor Crest on this Moc, so it just built out like a kind of little area, and it does look a little wonky without the Razor Crest there, but it's better to have that than nothing and just have the Razor Crest sitting off to the side. Oh yeah, and another thing I included is the little bit of lava and fire pieces, because on Nevarro there is a little bit of lava, and Nevarro even looks a little bit like Mustafar in the movie when you see the Razor Crest flying down towards it. So I had a nice little inclusion there with the lava, and also to give this dull gray terrain a little bit more color. Moving back towards the part of the Nevarro city that I built, this first building here, or the one closest, can be detached because it didn't fit on the main base plate, so this can be detached and it's just held in there by this 2x4 area. It's nothing really fancy there. And what I find funny here is when you look at it, you can tell when you can actually see the Moc like from the outside versus when the pieces are hidden away. You just go from random rainbow colors to a nice gray and lots more texture going on there instead of the flat colors. And inside of this building, it's now flipped around like 180 degrees. This is the entrance to the building, and there is a clone trooper there lurking in the shadows, which is a nice little signifier or symbol there, because it shows that there is some Imperial presence in the city, but they have not yet done the full takeover. Which reminds me, this entire Moc is based on when you first see Mando walking in, and the Razor Crest does have two of the people in carbonite coming out of the back ramp. So that's when that person, he doesn't really have a name because he's not a main character in the show, is unloading those carbonite people from Mando's ship. Now, inside the city, for the pathway, I used those wheel pieces and I put them on their side, so it's kind of like snot. and it's quite a cool technique to use, and I quite like it. So yeah, it's quite a cool looking pathway, and also with this pathway, with any holes you have left over, you can just put like wedges or any kind of flat tile pieces in between just to fill in those bigger type of gaps. And in the city, or part of the city that I have here, we have just, I guess it's Jar Jar Binks, but supposed to signify just kind of the different alien species, along with the Jawas that you do see in The Mandalorian. And now, a cool little thing that I did with this mock is this nice like rope or string up here with these pieces on it, and it's quite cool, and it gives the mock a little more depth and makes it look a little more interesting for your eye. And now hopefully you can see it, but one of my absolute favorite parts of this mock is actually this door right here. And it took a while. I designed it, and the bottom, I didn't really have any curved bottom pieces, so I had to do some weird flipping pieces upside down technique, and it was tricky, but in the end it looks quite good. But there are some cracks, but even those cracks are okay because it even gives the building a little more like deteriorated or wrecked look, which I was going for, because all of the buildings in Nevarro have a kind of gravelly and destroyed or ruined look to them. Now moving back around to the front of the mock, we have obviously the Mandalorian, the main character, kind of centered with this mock. He's right in the middle where you can clearly see him, right underneath the arch to the entrance of the city. And the arch was a little bit difficult to do, and it did turn out looking pretty good and very accurate to what the movie one looks like. Although the movie one is a little bit smoother. Yeah, so here's the Mandalorian walking out of the city. Now taking a look at this more square building here, there is actually a little bit too much detail on the outside, and it's a little bit busy for the eyes. And I think what would make it much better is removing like these tan pieces. Yeah, I think that makes quite the difference, because it's a little too much weird kind of color and a little bit too much texture with this building. But it does give it a very ruined look, which is good, but it's a little too busy for your eyes to compensate. And one thing with this mock that is a little bit of a problem is that the entire like landscape and the buildings are gray, so there's not really anything to decipher them from your ground to the man-made built things, which can confuse your eyes. And if we lower the camera down to ground level, then everything kind of blends together into one grayish color. Oh yeah, and I didn't really show it, but around back it is all just like completely flat. There is a couple little pieces sticking out, but there's not really anything to see back there. Then on top of both houses, we have these nice antenna here for communications and stuff. And then there's also a nice little like landing communications tower here, right in the landing spot for the Razor Crest and any other ship that's coming to land in Nevarro City. Now moving over to the Razor Crest, here's a quick comparison so you can kind of see how big the Razor Crest compared to Mando is. And it is quite a big model, and I'm guessing that this model is going to be bigger than the Lego one. So there's a little comparison of a minifigure right next to the Razor Crest, or at least Yikai's model of the Razor Crest. And if I can get this into position, there is a little bit of interior inside there, but it's kind of difficult to get at. And a couple little features on the ship are that these two side hatches come down, as well as the cockpit pops up as well. And there is a pilot seat for Mandalorian and a couple of little controls there. Oh yeah, and I will also say that some of the pieces are changed out, so they're not what you would actually get if you were to order this mock. So like this piece here would be the trans dark bluish gray, which would look much better on this mock, but I went for blue because that piece, the trans dark bluish gray, this type of window piece, was really, really expensive, like $90 expensive, just for one piece, which is kind of crazy. And overall, I think this is quite a amazing mock that I put together here. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased because I built it myself. And the Razor Crest by Yikai just ties it all together very nicely. And here's a little aerial view, just so you can kind of see the layout of it. And as you can see, the Razor Crest is quite big compared to the rest of the mock. Yeah, so quite a good mock, although the color scheme is a little bit bland. But I mean, if you look at the movie in Nevarro, it is all like grayish color. It's a very bland planet. So, thank you for watching this closer look at my Mandalorian mock. And make sure you subscribe to catch more mocks and Star Wars builds just like this. Also, check out the time-lapse to this mock so you can see exactly how it was built. But with that said, Gigahertz Productions, out!